Donald, you're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
See, I think you're on the wrong side of this if you're still arguing for a single-payer system.
I don't think you heard me. You're having a hard time tonight.
All right,
First of all, Rand Paul shouldn't even be on this stage. He's number 11. He's got 1% in the polls, and how he got up here, there's far too many people. Anyway, as far as temperament, I never attacked him on his look, and believe me, there's plenty of subject matter right there. That I can tell you.
but
Well, in Wisconsin,
let me finish.
excuse me.
No, we talk about
in
this.
Wisconsin, you're losing $2.2 billion right now.
You're using
I
the
would
talking,
do so much better than that.
Mr. Trump, you're using the talking points of the Democrats, and as we all know, that
I'm using
failed
facts.
3 times.
When the folks of Iowa found out the true facts of the job that you've done in Wisconsin, all of a sudden you tubed. He was number 1. Now he's number 6 or 7 in the polls. So
But the
I didn't
simple
want
fact
to.
is,
Excuse me. 1 second.
No.
I
The
didn't
simple
want
fact
to.
is, Donald, you cannot take
more energy tonight. I like
No.
that. Look,
I was asked the question.
I didn't want.
When he asked Florida to have casino gambling, we said no.
Wrong.
We said no, and that's the simple fact. The
Don't
simple
make
fact
things
is,
up, Jeb. Don't
cut me off,
Come
sir.
on. Don't make things up.
Jake, can I say something?
I'm
Jeb
on the Reagan
said
side of this.
that they come into our country as an act of love. He's weak on immigration, by the way, in favor of Common Core, which is also a disaster, but weak on immigration, he doesn't get my vote. Carly was at Lucent before that, and Lucent turned out to be a catastrophe also. So I only say this. She can't run any of my companies. That I can tell you.
Ms. Fiorina, I want to give you a chance.
I'm the only person up here that fought against going into Iraq.
Hugh,
now,
can I make a response to
just
that?
excuse me 1 second,
Can I
Rand,
make
if you
a
don't mind,
response to
Rand.
that?
You know, you are on less. You do have your 1%. I would like.
That Hillary Clinton is a great negotiator, that she could bring about a better
Your
deal
brother
with Iran.
and your brother's administration gave us Barack Obama because it was such a disaster those last 3 months that Abraham Lincoln couldn't have been elected.
And he did keep us safe.
I don't know. You feel safe right now? I don't feel so safe.
Mayor.
First of all, John got lucky with a thing called fracking, okay? He hit oil. He got lucky with fracking. Believe me, that's why Ohio is doing well. Number 2, this is the man that was a managing general partner at Lehman Brothers when it went down the tubes and almost took every one of us with us, including Ben and myself. He was on the board, and he was a managing general partner. He was so nice. He was such a nice guy. And he said, oh, I'm never going to attack. But then his poll numbers tanked. That's why he's on the end. And he got nasty. So you know what? You can have him. Okay, You're lucky in Ohio that you struck oil. That's for one thing.
Let's
Built an unbelievable company worth billions and billions of dollars. I don't have to hear from this man.
Mr.
Believe me.
my time.
Why does she keep interrupting everybody?
Yeah.
Boy, terrible.
Yeah, I'd like.
He would not be the commander-in-chief we need to keep our country safe.
Jeb doesn't really believe I'm unhinged. He said that very simply because he has failed in this campaign. It's been a total disaster. Nobody cares. We need toughness. Honestly, I think Jeb is a very nice person. He's a very nice person, but we need tough people. We need toughness. We need intelligence, and we need tough.
You said in September 30th that ISIS was not a
Am I
not a
talking or are
factor.
you talking, Jeb?
I'm
You can
talking
go
right
back.
now. I'm talking.
You can go back. You're not
I'm
talking.
talking.
You interrupted me,
September
Jeb. Are you
30th,
going to
you said it.
apologize, Jeb? No. So,
Little of your own
again,
medicine there,
I know
Governor-
you're trying to
Governor
build
Bush,
up your energy,
please,
Jeb, but it's not working
one at
very
a time.
well.
Yeah.
Look, with Jeb's attitude, we will never be great again. That I can tell you. We will never be great again.
All right, Hugh.
Look, the simple fact is, if you think this is tough and you're not being treated
This
fairly,
isn't tough and easy.
imagine
I wish
what it's
it-
going to be like
I wish
dealing
it
with
was
Putin
always
or
as
dealing
easy
with
as you,
President
Jeff.
Xi. This is a tough business to run for
I know.
president.
You're a tough guy, Jeb. I know.
And we need to have a leader that is
Real
principled.
tough.
You're never going to be president of the
You're
United
real
States
tough,
by
Jeb,
insulting
yeah?
your way to
well,
the
let's see.
presidency.
I'm at 42 and you're at 3. So
Doesn't matter.
far I'm doing better.
Doesn't matter.
So far I'm doing better. You know, you started off over here, Jeb. You're moving over further and further. Pretty soon you're going to be off the end.
Don't
This
lose your
doesn't
temper
do
there.
In Iowa now, as you know, Ted, in the last 3 polls, I'm beating you. So, you know, you shouldn't misrepresent how well you're doing with the polls. And for some reason, Neil, he beats the rest of the field. I already know the Democrats are going to be bringing a suit. You have a big lawsuit over your head while you're running, and if you become the nominee, who the hell knows if you can even serve in office? And you shouldn't have mentioned the polls because I would have been much different.
Why now? Why are you raising this issue now?
Because now he's doing a little bit better. No, I didn't care before. It's true. No, it's true. Hey, look, he never had a a chance. Now he's doing better. He's got probably a 4 or 5% chance.
Not a lot of conservatives come out of Manhattan. I'm just saying.
Conservatives actually do come out of Manhattan, including William F. Buckley and others, just so you understand. When the World Trade Center came down, I saw something that no place on earth could have handled more beautifully, more humanely than New York. You had two 110-story buildings come crashing down. I saw them come down. The cleanup started the next day, and it was the most horrific cleanup probably in the history of doing this and in construction. I was down there. And the people in New York fought and fought and fought, and we saw more death and even the smell of death. Nobody understood it, and it was with us for months. And everybody in the world watched, and everybody in the world loved New York and loved New Yorkers. And I have to tell you, that was a very insulting statement that Ted made.
We need someone with a steady hand being president of the United States.
Real quick, Senator.
And we don't need a weak person being president of the United States, okay? Because that's what we'd get if it were Jeb. I'll tell you what, we don't need that. We don't need that.
You head back to the airport tonight. Go check and see.
Oh, yeah, I'll check for you.
Check it out.
First of all, I respect what Ted just said. But if you noticed, he didn't answer your question.
What Donald Trump did was use eminent domain to try to take the property of an elderly woman on the Strip in Atlantic City.
Jeb wants to be, he wants to be a tough guy. He wants to be a tough guy tonight.
It was to tear down
I didn't take the property.
And the 30 seconds,
let me just, he wants to be a tough guy. A lot of times, you'll have, and it doesn't work very well with
How tough is it to take the property from an elderly woman?
Let me talk. Quiet.
How tough is it?
A lot of times, that's all of his donors and special interests out there. So, the Keystone Pipeline, do you consider that a private job?
I consider it a public use.
No, let me ask you, Jeb. Do you consider the Keystone Pipeline private? Is it public or private?
It's a public use.
Oh, really? A public use? No, it's a private job.
It's a public use.
It's a private job.
Established by the courts, federal, state
You
courts.
wouldn't have the Keystone Pipeline that you want so badly without eminent domain.
All right, Jeb.
Let me just tell you this. Jeb is so wrong. Jeb is absolutely so. That's just so you understand. You know what that is? That's Jeb's special interest and lobbyists talking. And Lindsey Graham, who backs him, who had 0 on his polls. Let me just tell you something. We've spent. I only tell the truth, lobbyists.
We're living in dangerous times.
In New Hampshire.
This is a man who insults his way to the nomination.
44 million.
All right, ladies. All right.
Give me a break.
Gentlemen.
It took Jeb Bush, if you remember at the beginning of his announcement, when he announced for president, took him 5 days. He went back. It was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. Took him 5 days before his people told him what to say. And he ultimately said it was a mistake.
He's had the gall to go after
the World
my
Trade
mother.
Center came
He's
down
had
during
the gall
your brother's
to go after
reign.
my mother.
Remember that.
Hold on.
Let me finish this. My mom is the strongest woman I know.
She should
this
be
is
running.
not about my family.
And George W. Bush enforced what the international community refused to do. And again, he kept us safe, and I am forever grateful to what he did for this
country. How did he keep us safe when the World Trade Center came down? The world, excuse me, I lost hundreds of friends. The World Trade Center came down during the reign of George Bush. He kept us safe. That's not safe. That is not safe, Marco.
All right.
I don't often agree with Marco, and I don't often agree with Ted, but I can in this case. The weakest person on the stage by far on illegal immigration is Jeb Bush. They come out of an act of love, whether you like it or not. He is so weak on illegal immigration, it's laughable, and everybody knows it.
Standard operating procedure to disparage me. That's fine. I don't really
spend
care
a little
about
more
it.
money on the
I can handle it.
commercials.
But if you want to talk about weakness,
he also
the simple
said
fact
about
is,
language.
I've laid out my plans.
He said about language. 2 days ago, he said he would take his pants off and moon everybody, and that's fine. Nobody reports that. He gets up and says that, and then he tells me, "Oh, my language was a little bit rough."
Okay.
My language.
Governor Kasich.
Give me a break.
Governor Kasich.
Right now, today, as a candidate, he supports federal taxpayer funding for Planned Parenthood. I disagree with him on that. That's a matter of principle, and I'll tell you.
You are the single biggest liar. You probably are worse than Jeb Bush. You are the single biggest liar.
All right.
This guy lied. Let me just tell you, this guy lied about Ben Carson when he took votes away from Ben Carson in Iowa, and he just continues. And today, we had robocalls saying Donald Trump is not going to run in South Carolina, where I'm leading by a lot. I'm not going to run. Vote for Ted Cruz. This is the same thing he did to Ben Carson. This guy will say anything. Nasty guy. Now I know why he doesn't have one endorsement from any of his colleagues.
All right, John, I get
Senator
to
Cruz,
respond.
pick from the buffet there.
He's a nasty guy.
Well, I will, liar. If you want to go,
Where did I
and
support
watch,
it? Where did I
if you
support
want
it?
to go
Hey, Ted,
and watch,
where did I
if you
support
want to
it?
go and watch the video, go to our website,
Ted,
tedcruz.org.
where
You
did I
can see
support it, Ted?
out
No, don't
of
tell me about
Donald's
a
own
video.
mouth. When we
Where
were
did I support it?
You supported it when we were battling over defunding Planned Parenthood. You went on
That's
television
a lot
and
of
said
nonsense.
Planned Parenthood does wonderful things and we should not defund
Oh,
them.
it does do wonderful
And-
things,
and-
but not as it relates to abortion.
So tell
They
me, what
do
are the
some-
wonderful
excuse
things?
me.
What are the wonderful
Excuse
things
me.
it does?
There are wonderful things having to do with women's health.
You see,
but
you and I
not when it
disagree
comes
on that.
to abortion.
And
not
John,
when it comes
the
to
reason
abortion.
principle matters.
That's where I draw the
John,
line.
the reason principle. If Donald Trump is president, he will appoint liberals. If Donald Trump is president, your Second Amendment will go away.
Hold on, before.
And you know
Let
how
me
I
tell
know
you.
that?
Hold on, gentlemen.
Ted
I'm going to
Cruz
turn this
wanted
car around.
John Roberts, Ted Cruz, with your brother, wanted John Roberts to be in the United States Supreme Court. They both pushed him. He twice approved Obamacare.
All right, gentlemen.
Good going, man.
My name.
I did not nominate John Roberts. I would not have nominated
You
John
pushed
Roberts.
him. You
I
pushed him.
supported
You
him
worked
once
with
he
him
was
and you
appointed.
pushed him. Why do you lie?
Donald,
Why do you
adults
lie?
learn not to interrupt
can we
each
move
other.
Why do you lie?
Donald learned.
You pushed him.
Donald, adults learn not to interrupt each other.
Yeah, I know. You're an
All
adult.
right.
Because I run a company.
Yeah,
I
it was-
never went bankrupt. Excuse me, Jeb.
Yeah.
For example, you're the only person on the stage that's ever been fined for hiring people to work on your projects illegally. You hired some workers
No, I'm
from
the
Poland.
only one on the stage that's hired people. You haven't hired anybody.
Well,
And by the way, I've hired tens of thousands of people over my job. You've
Yeah,
hired
you've hired
nobody.
1,000 people
You've
from
had
another
nothing
company,
but problems
from another
with your
country.
credit cards, etc.
Let me
So
say,
don't
let
tell
me just
me
say,
about
well,
that.
and he had to pay $1 million or so in a
That's
judgment
wrong.
for hiring.
That's
It is,
wrong.
That's a fact.
Totally wrong.
What,
Over my lifetime, tens of
Many
thousands.
from other
Be
countries
quiet,
instead of hiring
just
Americans.
Be quiet. Let me talk. I've hired tens of thousands of people. I can only say this, and I've said it loud and clear, and I've said it for years. And many of these people are sitting right in the audience right now, your lobbyists and your special interests and your donors, because the audience is packed with them, and they're packed with you. I got along with everybody. You get along with nobody. You don't have one Republican. You don't have one Republican senator, and you work with them every day of your life, although you skipped a lot of time. These are minor details. But you don't have one Republican senator backing you, not one. You don't have the endorsement of one Republican senator, and you work with these people.
Senator Cruz.
You should be ashamed of yourself. Here's a man, Robin Hood. This is Robin Hood over here. He talks about corruption on his financial disclosure form. He didn't even put that he's borrowed money from Citibank and from Goldman Sachs, which is a total violation. He didn't talk about the fact that he pays almost no interest. He just left it off, and now he's going to protect the people from the big bad banks.
We're going to
Give
move
me a
on
break.
to Governor Casey.
Now, the wall is $10 billion to $12 billion if I do it. If these guys do it, it'll end up costing $200 billion.
well, then make them in America.
That makes it well, you don't know anything about business. You lose
Well,
on
make them
everything
in
you do.
America.
Let me just tell you, they devalue their currencies. Here's a guy that buys a house for $179,000. He sells it to a lobbyist who's probably here for $380,000, and then legislation is passed. You tell me about this guy.
You draw maps
and you
around
don't
it.
know what it
What
means.
is your plan?
That's the problem.
What is
don't
your
know.
plan on health care? You
The
don't have
biggest
a
problem.
plan.
The biggest
Well, what is
problem
it?
he
I'll
doesn't
give
know.
you 1 minute
The
of my
biggest
time to tell me
problem
his
he's
plan.
got is he
What's his
doesn't know.
plan?
You know, I watched him melt down 2 weeks ago with Chris Christie. I got to tell you, the biggest problem he's got is he really doesn't know about the lines, plans.
But now he's repeating himself.
No, I'm not repeating. No. Been talking about repeating. I watched him repeat himself 5 times 4 weeks ago. But I will not allow people to die on the sidewalks and the streets of our country if I'm president. You may let it, and you may be fine
So
with it.
does the government pay
I'm
for
not
everyone's
fine
health
with
care?
it. I sort of have to laugh when Ted makes a big deal out of the fact that he's doing well in the polls. Well, I'm beating him in virtually every poll. I'm tied in Texas, by the way, which I shouldn't be, but I think I'll do very well. But a poll just came out, a Bloomberg poll, where I am beating him so badly that it's like embarrassing even for me to say I'm beating him that badly. I just got 36% of the vote, right? I just got 46% on another one. I got 38% on another one. That means, and he got 20 and 22, and he lost in South Carolina so badly. That was going to be his stronghold. He said a year ago, oh, I can't lose South Carolina. I beat him in a landslide. Last week in Nevada, I beat him in a landslide. And he's saying about the polls. What other thing? Hillary Clinton, take a look at USA Today, take a look at the Q poll. I beat her, and I beat her badly, and I haven't even started on her. I only had one little interchange. She said I was sexist, and believe me, they had a rough weekend that weekend between Bill and Hillary. They had a rough weekend.
But you're not beating Hillary.
Well, then if I can't beat her, you're really going to get killed, aren't you? So let me ask you this, because you're really getting beaten badly. I know you're embarrassed. I know you're embarrassed, but keep fighting. Keep swinging, man. Swing for the fences. I'm a negotiator. I've done very well over the years. In all fairness, Marco is not a negotiator. I watched him melt down, and I'll tell you, it was one of the saddest things I've ever seen. He's not going down.
He thinks the Palestinian is a real estate deal.
And these people may even be tougher than Chris Christie, okay? There is nobody on this stage that has done more for Israel than I have. Nobody. You might say, you might talk, your politicians all talk, no action. I've been watching it all my life. And what I've seen up here, I mean, first of all, this guy's a choke artist, and this guy's a liar. You have a combination. This guy always goes. You have a combination of factors. He can't do it for the obvious reason, and he can't do it because he doesn't know how to tell the truth. Other than that, I rest my case.
This is the typical thing he does.
I watched what this man did to Dr. Ben Carson, who I respect, in Iowa, where he said that Ben Carson is out of the race. He has left Iowa, and he's out of the race. And I thought it was disgraceful. And got a lot of votes because of that. A lot of votes took him away from Ben Carson. I watched that. Probably took him away from me, too. But I watched it. I also watched where he did a form that looked like it came right out of a government agency. And it said on top, voter violation. And then it graded you, and it scared the hell out of people. And it said the only way you clear up the violation, essentially, is to go and vote for Ted Cruz. I watched that fraudulent document, and I said it's the worst thing I've ever seen in politics. To me, that was even worse than what he did to Ben.
Senator Cruz.
I know politicians, believe it or not, better than you do, and it's not good.
You've been funding liberal Democratic politicians, and by the way,
I funded you.
The
I
reason
funded him.
You're welcome to have the check back.
I funded this guy.
Because let's be clear.
Him a check.
Yeah, you gave me $5,000. Donald,
thank you for the book. Go ahead.
Donald, you can get back on your meds now.
There's a lot of fun up here tonight, I have to tell you. Thank you for the book.
Donald, relax.
Go ahead. I'm relaxed. You're the basket case. Go ahead. Go ahead. Don't get nervous. Go ahead.
I promise you, Donald, there's nothing about you that makes anyone nervous.
You're losing so badly.
Watching this.
You don't know what's happening.
Gentlemen. I also happen to call him a lightweight, okay? And I have said that. So I would like to take that back. He's really not that much of a lightweight. Just for the record, I've won 10. He's won 3 or 4. This little guy has lied so much about my record.
Here we go.
So you haven't employed in your life one
but
person.
He doesn't answer
I've employed tens of thousands of people. You haven't employed one person.
You ever heard of Trump?
Policy question for you, sir.
Let's see if he answers it.
I will. Don't worry about it, Marco. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, little Marco. I will.
All right, well, let's hear Big Don. Donald.
Don't worry about it, Don't worry about it, little Marco.
Gentlemen.
But if, in fact, you went to Manhattan and said, I'm lying to the American people, then the voters have a right to know.
No, you're the liar. You're the lying guy up here. You're the one. You're the one.
Release the
You're
tape.
the one. Now, let me just tell you. Let me just tell you. Excuse me. I've given my answer, Lion Ted. I've given my answer.
All right,
let's leave it.
Excuse me. The real con artist is Senator Marco Rubio, who was elected in Florida and who has the worst voting record in the United States Senate. He doesn't go to vote. He's absent. He doesn't go. Now, the people of Florida can't stand him. He couldn't get elected dog catcher. The people in Florida wouldn't elect him dog catcher. He couldn't get any. He is right now 21 points down to me. And, again, there'll be a lot of advertising. It's the only thing that might save him, but I doubt it.
I'm coming.
He scammed the people of Florida. He scammed. He doesn't vote. He doesn't show up in the U.S. Senate. He doesn't vote. He scammed the people.
Understood.
He defrauded the people of Florida.
With respect, you've made the
You defrauded the people of
on a
Florida,
point.
little Marco.
He's defrauded people.
I've gotten to know Marco over a period of time. Believe me, he is not a leader. Everyone's laughing. We're all having a good time. And, you know, that's why I have much bigger crowds than Ted, because we have a good time at my crowd.
Senator Cruz, if you overtake Donald Trump at the convention, what will you do to take his very passionate supporters and keep them from bolting the convention and sabotaging the fall election?
Well, look, there's some folks in Washington.
You know, I listen and I watch Ted on television and when he speaks, and he's always saying, I'm the only one that beat Donald in 6 contests, and I beat him. But I beat him in 13 contests. He never mentions that. I humbly and gratefully accept your nomination. Secretary,
in fact,
you have no plan.
A book about it. It's called Stronger Together. You can pick it up tomorrow.
That's about all you
folks.
At the bookstore. I have a feeling that by the end of this evening, I'm going to be blamed for everything that's ever happened.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, why not? Broad-based, inclusive growth is what we need in America.
Typical politician, all talk, no action, sounds good, doesn't work, never going to happen. I will release my tax returns against my lawyer's wishes when she releases her 33,000 emails that have been deleted. As soon as she releases them, I will release my tax returns.
And they showed he didn't pay any federal income tax. So
that makes
if
me
he's
smart.
paid zero, I made a mistake using a private email.
That's for sure.
And
we don't have the money because it's been squandered on so many of your ideas. But you know, you've seen me. I've been all over the place. You decided to stay home, and that's okay.
So a man who can be provoked by a tweet should not have his fingers anywhere near the nuclear codes, as far as I think anyone with any sense about this should be concerned.
That line's getting a little bit old, I must say. Bernie Sanders, between superdelegates and Deborah Wasserman Schultz, he never had a chance, and I was so surprised to see him sign on with the devil. You get a subpoena, and after getting the subpoena, you delete 33,000 emails. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Secretary Clinton, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Please allow her to respond. She didn't talk while you talked.
Yes, that's true. I didn't.
Because you
I
have
didn't
nothing
in
to
the
say.
first debate, and I'd like to get to the questions that the people have brought here tonight to talk to us about.
And get off this question.
If he wants to start, he can start. Go ahead, Hillary. No, go ahead, Donald.
No, I'm a gentleman, Hillary. Go ahead.
Secretary Clinton?
She lied. Now she's blaming the lie on the late, great Abraham Lincoln. That's one that I haven't. Honest Abe never lied. That's the good thing. That's the big difference between Abraham Lincoln and you. That's a big, big difference. We're talking about some difference. We have a divided nation because people like her, and believe me, she has tremendous hate in her heart.
Secretary Clinton, does Mr. Trump have the discipline to be a good leader?
No.
I'm shocked to hear that. That was a great pivot off the fact that she wants open borders, okay? How did we get onto Putin? No puppet, no puppet.
And it's pretty clear.
You're the puppet.
It's pretty clear.
She doesn't like Putin because Putin has outsmarted her at every step of the way. Excuse me. Putin has outsmarted her in Syria. He's outsmarted her every step of the way. She's been doing this for 30 years. Why the hell didn't you do it over the last 15, 20 years? You were very much involved. Excuse me. My turn. The problem is you talk, but you don't get anything done, Hillary. You don't.
He started tweeting that the Emmys were rigged against
Should have gotten it.
This time
You are
talks.
the one that's unfit. John Podesta said some horrible things about you, and boy, was he right. He said some beauties. John Podesta said you have terrible instincts. Bernie Sanders said you have bad judgment. I agree with both.
Well,
Donald, you're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
Donald Trump, elected President of the United States.